Hello everyone, welcome back into a video. So the FTC decided to sue Microsoft, but as you'll find out later, they actually outright lied in terms of the reason. But we'll get to that when we get there. So there's a ton of information to go for because this started the whole yesterday. Then the reason where they were exposed as lying that came out today. So I'm kind of glad I kind of waited because this is a pretty big one. So okay. Let's go. Okay, let's start off with this article from Video Game Chronicle. An official statement made by the FTC alleges that the deal would not only give Microsoft the upper hand in the console market, but also in other areas such as subscription gaming and cloud. It claims that the $69 billion deal, Microsoft's largest ever in the video game industry, will enable Microsoft to surprise competitors such as Xbox gaming consoles and its rapidly growing subscription content and cloud-based business. According to the FTC, the complaint cites proof examples of Microsoft acquiring other content and using it to suppress competition from rivals, pointing out its acquisition of ZeniMax, parent company Bethesda, as a notable example. So you can kind of see where this is going, right? Anyway, continuing. The FTC statement claims Microsoft decided to make several Bethesda's games, including Starfield and Redfall, Microsoft exclusives, despite assurances it had given to the European antitrust authorities that it had no incentive to withhold games from rival consoles. That is a flat-out fucking lie, as we'll get to. The FTC issues administrative complaints like this when it has reason to believe the law is being violated and that legal proceedings would be in the public interest. The allegations would not be tried in a formal hearing before an administrative law judge. Holly Vandova, director of the FTC's Bureau of Competition, stated, Microsoft has already shown that it can and will withhold content from its rivals. Today, we seek to stop Microsoft from gaining control over a leading independent game studio and using it to harm competition in multiple dynamic and fast-growing gaming markets. In recent weeks, Xbox has been trying to emphasize its commitment to keeping Call of Duty arguably the main game affecting this problem on PlayStation platforms. Earlier this week, Microsoft President Brad Smith provided more details in a Wall Street Journal editorial on the company's offer to keep COD on PlayStation. For at least a decade, a vital part of Activision Blizzard's revenue for Call of Duty comes from PlayStation game sales. Given the popularity of crossplay, it would also be disastrous to the Call of Duty franchise, and Xbox itself alienate millions of gamers. That's why we offered Sony a 10-year contract to make each new COD release available on PlayStation the same day it comes to Xbox. To which they have done before with previous ones, that games they released that came after an acquisition, like Psychonauts 2 for example, and Minecraft. That is still supported on PlayStation and Nintendo platforms to this day. So I don't know what to tell you, Sony, but anyway, we're open to providing the same commitment to other platforms as making it legally enforceable by regulators in the US, UK, and European Union. Microsoft also stated on Wednesday that it had committed to releasing Call of Duty games on Nintendo platforms and Steam for the next 10 years if it successfully acquires Activision Blizzard. This was followed by timely show support from Valve co-founder and CEO Gabe Newell, Lord Gaming, who stated that a long-term offer to keep the series on Steam was not needed as Xbox always follows through on its promises. So before we read Brad Sam's response, because he actually responded on Twitter to this, I gotta call FTC out on this bullshit. As you'll find out later that they lied to everyone's faces, mind you, and there's a reason that they filed the lawsuit not in a federal court but its own. So, but really, for FTC, really, you're kind of arguing that it would be anti-competitive, but you let Disney buy Fox, who then went on to shut down Blue Sky Studios, who made a franchise that I grew up on in Ice Age. I'm still pissed about that. So really, you're now so concerned now? Really? After you let Disney buy Star Wars, which arguably they've ruined it a little bit. Like there's been ups and downs with Star Wars because of whole politics within Disney and all that shit. Like really? And so you pretend to be so concerned now? Really? I call bullshit, man. It's all about politics with this BS, but whatever. Let's get to Brad Smith's response on Twitter. We have been committed since day one to addressing competition concerns, including by offering earlier this week proposed concessions to the FTC. Now, while we believe in giving peace a chance, we have complete confidence in our case and welcome the opportunity to present it in court. And actually, a Activision Blizzard executive named Lulu, she actually responded as well on Twitter, so let's take a look at that, shall we? The FTC's job is to protect consumers, not competitors! Your job is not to protect Sony, FTC. Get it through your thick skulls. Anyway, this vote departs from precedent, but the law hasn't changed. Any claim the deal is anti-competitive ignores facts. The deal benefits gamers and the industry, especially given competition from abroad. We look forward to proving our case in court and closing our deal with Microsoft. Now, Activision actually supplied more info on their website, but before we get to that, let's actually read the EU's response, because they outright called out the FTC for literally lying for this whole entire fiasco and making the FTC look out to be absolute idiots, which they are idiots. They're so incompetent. Not only them, but the other regulators too, personally. But I still think, for the record, I still think this deal is going through without a doubt, especially after this bullshit blew up in FTC's face. Anyway, Microsoft didn't make any commitments to regulators to not release Xbox exclusive content following its takeover of ZeniMax Media. FTC suggested that Microsoft misled the Commission in 2021, cites it as a reason to challenge the proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard. The FTC, which did not identify any concerns whatsoever with the ZeniMax deal, said Microsoft's behavior in the previous case should give reason to be suspicious of its non-binding commitments to maintain Call of Duty on PlayStation. The EU agency found that even if Microsoft were to restrict access to ZeniMax titles, it would not have the impact on competition because rivals wouldn't be denied to essential input, because most of ZeniMax titles are single player. Now, if their titles were like multiplayer, maybe they would have a chance, but that's like not that often with Bethesda titles. Anyway, continuing. In its complaint against the $69 billion acquisition, Microsoft's past conduct indicated that it would harm competitors by restricting their access to Activision content if it completes the takeover, which is said hundreds and countless of times that COD remain multi-platform, just like with Minecraft. Anyway, it pointed out to the conduct in the ZeniMax deal in 2021, despite assuring it would not have incentives to withhold ZeniMax games from rivals, it decided to make 3 of their upcoming games to Xbox and Game Pass, FTC says. It pointed out the conduct in the ZeniMax deal. Wait, I just reread that. Never mind. Okay, well, that's all they're talking about. As you'll see later, they're talking about Starfield and Redfall. There's one more that was left out. You can probably guess which one that is. And that's coming, after Starfield, but whatever. Microsoft's previous representations to the EU about its incentives after its purchase were not born out of Microsoft's own post-merger behavior. The Commission cleared the transaction unconditionally, as to conclude that the transaction would not raise competition concerns, the EU said in an emailed statement. The absence of competition concerns did not rely on statements made by Microsoft about the future distribution of ZeniMax titles, said the Commission, which itself has opened in-depth probe into the Activision deal. I believe we covered that in previous videos, I think. But whatever. And their decision on that is not coming until March, so there's still a while to go. It's about 4 months, give or take. In the EU merging filing, Microsoft told the regulator that it would fulfill all ZeniMax agreements to make current games available on other consoles, including 2-time PS5 exclusives, which they did, as you'll see in a second. Microsoft kept that promise. One of those was Deathloop, which came out in September 21, and once that deal ended, it's now on Xbox, it's now in Game Pass. I played it. It's okay. It's alright. It was exclusive for 1 year, while Ghostwire Tokyo, released in March of this year, is still not available on Xbox because of Sony. Which is completely true. Ghostwire Tokyo is still not on Xbox yet, and it won't be until sometime after March of 2023. Microsoft has told the Commission that future decisions on whether to distribute ZeniMax titles would be on other consoles would be on a case-by-case basis, which they have said consistently. I mean, look at the Quake remaster. That came after the acquisition, and that's still multi-platform. Just saying. According to the document, Starfield and Redfall are coming to Xbox and PC only. Yep, that is true. Microsoft said it's in line with statements made upon the close of the active ZeniMax transaction. These, however, are predominantly single-player with pre-existing sales revenue or community on any console, let alone PlayStation, that would be impacted by any exclusivity decision, which is 100% true, because those games are brand new IP. Especially Starfield, like, that game has a lot of hype behind it, but whether it will live up to that, we'll see. I think as long as you keep your expectations in check, I think those who are excited for it will be pretty happy with it. Just don't go overboard with that one. It looks shockingly good for a Bethesda game, so I'm curious in it, but will I overhype myself for it? No, not really. I'll keep my eye on it, but I'm not super over the board for it, like I've been with other games, like the game you're seeing on screen. But you know what I mean. Okay, now let's get to. Okay, before we wrap this video up, let's take a look at what Activision said on their website after this whole shebang, went down. Internal email to Activision Blizzard staff. There's a lot being said about these days about a merger with Microsoft. However, much of what's out there lacks the understanding of our industry. As part of our ongoing commitment to keep all of you updated on the merger, I want to take a moment to give you a quick process update and lay out the facts. So far, we received approval for merger from several jurisdictions. I believe 3 of them. I think Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and one more. Maybe Syria? Maybe was the other one? I could be wrong about that last one, but I'm not. But anyway, and we're proceeding through the process and several others like EU, UK, and US, as we all know. Our engagements with China. That was the other. China was seemingly China approved it as well, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong about that one, but anyway, those global regulators have been constructive, productive, and generally quite positive. I have, however, seen speculations in the press that in the US, the FTC Commission is considering another file lawsuit to try and block it, and they could do this because they believe that after a merger closes, Microsoft may Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox, which they said countless times FTC that they're keeping it multi-platform. Ugh. We don't know what will happen with the regulatory process, but for several reasons, the rumors that Microsoft would make COD exclusive to Xbox are freaking nonsense. To the contrary, Microsoft spent the last year promising global regulators tens of millions of players and competing consoles and platforms that they won't do that. Do people really think that Microsoft, one of the world's most respected companies, would risk its reputation and relationships to go back on promise? It makes zero freaking sense. Not to mention that Microsoft has spent the last decade trying to rebuild their reputation after they have kept shooting themselves in the foot with the Xbox brand ever since they revealed the Xbox One. Hell, I think in aspects they still are shooting themselves in the foot, like the fact that you did not show anything at the VGAs last night when they absolutely should have, when Xbox fans have been dying all year for news on their AAA games, especially when they released none of them this year. I get that Starfield and Redfall were delayed. Good, give them more time. I get that, but you should have had a backup plan, Microsoft. Just saying. Anyway, continuing. But you don't have to take their word for it or ours. Making Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox doesn't make good business sense. Microsoft would lose billions of dollars in lost sales and would infuriate both PlayStation owners and Xbox owners who would lose the ability to play with their friends who own PlayStation. The player backlash would be disastrous. It would destroy Microsoft's trust with players and its brand, something that Microsoft spent decades of building and protecting, and they spent the last decade trying to rebuild it. And in some ways, they're still screwing up with that. But whatever. I just went on a rant about that. But whatever. Just this week, Microsoft announced a 10-year commitment to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo platforms to give players more choice, not less. It also renewed its commitment to continue bringing the franchise to Steam, which just came back to Steam, mind you, with Modern Warfare 2. Valve CEO Gabe Newell, Lord Gaben, commented on the press saying, Microsoft has always followed through on what they told us, and they would do so, and so we trust their intentions. We think Microsoft has all the motivation they need to be on the platform's device where Call of Duty customers want to be. So yeah, Valve is giving their love and support to this deal going through, and I still think it will. I absolutely think it should, because it would make Sony actually be more competitive and maybe actually make a first-person shooter again. They literally bought fucking Bungie, a little studio who made the IP that put Xbox on the map. Just saying, Sony. Just freaking saying. So instead of crying about Call of Duty, actually have Bungie revive one of your IPs. Just saying. But anyway, continuing. These actions demonstrate a love and passion for our games and a shared desire to expand our player community to millions of new players around the world. Bungie's president, Brad Smith, made clear that Microsoft stands ready to make commitments to Sony to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for an industry-setting length of time. For those who don't remember, originally that deal was 3 years, and then, as of recently, I think it was around the time last month, I believe they started talking about this, but they increased the length from 3 years to 10 years, so that's a pretty big one. I know people like say, oh, why don't they do it forever? I'm like, what business says that will not make sense? No company is going to do that in contracts that promise in perpetuity. That makes zero freaking sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Anyway, let's wrap this up. It is also wrong to think of Call of Duty as untouchable. Now, don't get me wrong, Call of Duty alongside Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Diablo, Candy Crush, and StarCraft is an awesome game. In fact, when word got out at my kid's school, this is a lawyer, by the way, that I work at Activision Blizzard, something I may have helped along. Just being associated with COD, even as a lawyer, turned me into a minor celebrity with my kids and his friends. But the game faces massive competition, and more competition is popping up every single day. If Microsoft cut off COD from PlayStation, those players will simply move to alternative games instead. He's right. He's absolutely right. There's no good reason for Microsoft to drive customers to competitors in that way. One final point to consider is that I've talked to countless Activision Blizzard employees around the company who are excited beyond words about it, who are thrilled about partnering with Microsoft Collaborative, building new tech, utilizing cutting-edge tech such as AI, machine learning, or quantum computing to keep raising the quality of our games to delight our player community, or open new professional opportunities. Your voices do and should matter. The game industry is complex, and we continue to educate regulators on it. This shows how incompetent these regulators are. They don't give a flying shit about video games, and Microsoft having to show them how video games work just proves it. But given these facts, approving this merger should be a no-brainer. Ideology aside, in the upcoming days and weeks, we'll keep you updated on our progress. We know this means a lot to our employees and the player community, and we are prepared to fight to defend this. Thanks to our entire Activision Blizzard team for doing all they do to make this such a wonderful company, bringing epic entertainment to hundreds of millions of players, and to make me cool in the eyes of my kids. So that was a Activision lawyer speaking on it. It seems like they're going to be doing this consistently, which is great, because this deal is like so important. Like literally, I want this deal to go through, and I think it will. Don't get me wrong. I mainly want it so that the employees can actually, have a better work culture and get rid of freaking Bobby Kotick. Like under him, Activision has suffered, from various things over the past few years, especially last year with the whole mess with California. Let's not get into that, by the way. And also, like, it would make Call of Duty games cheaper if people subscribe to Game Pass, and Sony's afraid of that because they want everyone to buy Call of Duty on their platform. And they continue to get marketing rights and the whole exclusive DLC bullcrap that they've been doing ever since Black Ops 3? I believe it was Black Ops 3. That sounds about right, because before that, Microsoft had it throughout the 360 gen and like the first few Call of Duties of the 8th generation, but ever since then, Sony has had it. and I think Sony fears that if Call of Duty goes to Game Pass, they fear that people would jump over to Xbox, which is, I kind of doubt that people will just all of a sudden sell their PS5s and just go to Xbox. Just because of that, I don't think that doesn't make any sense. And the fact that Sony was demanding that Microsoft would put Call of Duty on PS Plus, if they were to put Call on Game Pass, that makes zero freaking sense. Like, why would Microsoft do that? Like, that would be them essentially giving up any advantage. While Sony would be over here been doing shit with like the whole money hiding for freaking years. So, if this goes to court, I would not be surprised if Microsoft airs all of Sony's dirty laundry. And Phil Spencer said it best. Like, the reason Sony is still against this deal because they're trying to protect their dominance in the console market. They do not want to compete. They want a competition that is constantly shooting themselves in the foot. That's what they want. Because they were happy as hell when Microsoft and Nintendo were, floundering it with the Xbox One, the Wii U generation. Because Sony easily won that generation. It's a proven fact. And the fact that they were talking shit about Nintendo privately, that got leaked, saying that the Switch was made for kids and why it doesn't make sense for them to get Call of Duty. Bull fucking shit, Sony. You are talking out of your ass again. Because, hello, have you not seen some games Switch has? Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein 1 and 2, and Youngblood. I know Youngblood is a terrible game, but it still has it. Witcher 3. I could keep going on and on and on. The Crysis trilogy. Come on now. Like, come on, Sony. You need to stop talking out of your ass. You are so desperate. It is utterly pathetic. It is so pathetic, man. To see a corporation that is the market leader, acting like freaking big babies, man. You need to grow the fuck up, Sony, and actually learn to make good first-person shooter games. I mean, especially now that you have fucking budget, there's no excuse that you shouldn't revive one of your old first-person shooter IPs and have Bungie make it. It would be such a massive win if Bungie made like a Killzone and released it for a PS5 and PC. It would be a massive win. It would give Call of Duty some competition. And more competition is better for the consumer. It's unbelievable that Sony's acting like this for a company that claims to be the quote-unquote market leader. It's just proving they want the deal blocked. That's what's really all about. They don't want it to go through at all because they're afraid of competition, and their actions have proven that. But I think I've gone on long enough about this, so man, what a freaking shit show. If any of you told me that this would all be going down, like the FTC literally lying to everyone's faces, and if Microsoft really wanted to, they could really have a case to sue the FTC for spreading misinformation about them, because it is a proven misinformation. The EU proved it. So, and the EU is still doing their own in-depth problem to it, and their decision, I believe, is in March, I believe. So still a few months out, but anyway, I've gone on long enough. What do you guys think about it? Let me know down in the comment section below, and if you like this video, hit that like button, and consider hitting that sub button so you do not miss out on more videos, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one.